What's up everybody, and welcome back to Ducks and Download. So in this video, we're going to be going over the rule of two, a rule that is not very well followed and is more or less the downfall to the Sith of Palpatine's era. The rule of two that we know of so far canonically is very little. All that we know is that simply two there must be, a master and apprentice, one to covet the power and one to master the dark side. And that is supposed to be the way that it's been for thousands of years, or at least 1,000 years, where the Sith have been in hiding after a great war with the Jedi. Legends, of course, we also know that its creator was Darth Bane. Now, everything aside from that, though, is pretty murky and still very in shadow. And I'm sure we'll be learning a lot more of that with shows like The Acolyte and, the upcoming Dawn of the Force kind of shows like those. The big point of the rule of two is that Darth Bane thought that the Sith were clouded, too many, too zealous in just sharing their power. This mostly happens in the Legends books of the Darth Bane trilogy, which I highly recommend you guys go check out. It is an absolutely stellar trilogy, one of the best in Star Wars books, and if you like the Sith, it's just a #1 all-around trilogy. In that really weird, murky, kind of like between canon and Legends, we find that Darth Bane was taking down what was now the Sith Order, known as the Army of the Dark Lords. A new bastardization, or to say, especially in Bane's view, of what the Sith truly were. Lord Khan, the newest Dark Lord of the Sith, the quote-unquote leader, but none of them, of course, were leaders in this new Sith regime that allowed more freely people to become Dark Lords and to rise up, becoming higher and more grandiose in this Senate, almost, of Darksiders. Because they thought that it was the title of Darth and the aspiration to rule all of them is what led the Sith to devour themselves. Well, Bane took it a step further, thinking that simply having too many weak Sith in general was the true problem. Too many weak apprentices were teaming up on a powerful master, and which meant that truly, in the long run, the Sith were weakening themselves. Which this has been the biggest problem of the Sith since their creation. It was a point of honor in the Old Republic Sith empires to take down your higher-ups, to be able to kill those stronger than you and take their place. And yes, a lot of the times you were to use trickery, poison, dark side powers, things like that, to help you and ensure your victory. But that has been what has honed both the blade of the Sith and dulled it at the same time when it has been used improperly. Bane figured by getting rid of Lord Khan and his entire Dark Lord army, then he could become Darth Bane, the new Dark Lord of the Sith, and create one apprentice. That way it would be just one vessel to fill the dark side with, and then one to pour into, to teach that knowledge. And once the apprentice became strong enough, having no one else to become a Sith Lord aside them, then they could take out their master as well, gaining an apprentice later and continuing the chain of the dark side, building it back up, letting it only become more powerful. But that's where Bane was horribly wrong. He misread the holocron that he had learned from Darth Revan about there only being two, master and apprentice. Revan was talking about the fact there should only be a master and an apprentice per all of the Dark Lords, all of the Darths, all of the true Sith. If one master had more than one apprentice, that could easily lead to those two apprentices or more ganging up on their master, making the Sith become weaker. It had nothing to do, though, with the entirety of the Sith. What made the Sith strong was the fact that they were constantly churning against each other, where only the strongest and sharpest minds could truly possess the Darth title and come out on top of the Sith regime. Lord Khan muted and neutered a lot of that Sith power, making it more easy to attain and easier to share in a sense. So Bane was correct to end Lord Khan and set in a new Sith, but limiting them to just two completely handicaps the Sith and has pretty much wiped them out. I don't know what's going to happen for the future of the Sith. After Palpatine's death, that's pretty much the last Sith there dying. Palpatine didn't really do all that much. It was 1,000 years of planning from those who went from underneath Darth Bane, who sadly we don't know in canon yet, but from that Darth Bane through the lineage of Darth Plagueis to Darth Sidious, and that's it. I really can't say that any of Darth Sidious's apprentices learned that much of the dark side, sadly. All he ever taught them was pain, torture, and domination. He did not give them any true freedom in the dark side, or allow them to truly prosper in any powers, because he would immediately become afraid of them taking over. Dooku knew Force lightning before he became a Sith Lord. Vader was Force choking and things like that far before it. Palpatine never really taught a single one of his apprentices anything. He was the most egotistical Sith, and he died the last Sith, meaning that he killed what could be the Sith Order simply because he refused to share that power. Sidious is the culmination of an entire millennium of planning come together. Yes, he is an extremely powerful Darksider, and yes, he had great plans. But even when he had the entire Empire, did they conquer any more space? No. They didn't take the Hutt space back. They didn't go into the Chiss space. They conquered nothing more. He was just holding his Empire and then lost it. The old Sith forged the Empire. The old Sith conquered their ways through by having these numerous amounts of Dark Lords that they could throw into the Jedi. But the rule of two did even worse to the Sith. It's an extremely important idea to help hone the blade of the dark side, but it was taken so far that when one egotistical Sith Lord decided to not share, decided he would rather be immortal than ever give up the throne of the dark side, and then he died on that throne, the last to know the true Sith secrets. And all of his caches now, known by the rebellion, were picked and piled up. I'm sure there are a collection of Sith artifacts somewhere, but a lot of them were probably also destroyed. It was a sad day for the Sith when Palpatine died, but not because he was missed, not because the dark side needed him, because he passed on nothing to no one. Dooku's dead. Ventress, well, she's alive, but she's not a Sith anymore. She doesn't want to be. Vader turned. That's it. Rey is on the light side. Like, nobody will remember the legacy of the Sith. And those Sith cultists couldn't have been that powerful, or Palpatine probably wouldn't have allowed it. He would have killed him, would have siphoned their energies. The rule of two cut all of the strength out of the Sith. It made them survivalists, but not Sith. Sith weren't meant to live in the shadows. They were meant to conquer. They were meant to take. They were meant to spread the Empire over the galaxy by domination and just through their will into the dark side. I believe the rule of two has almost entirely killed the Sith, and I really do hope they return somehow. It's going to either take some ancient ghost reteaching the old ways of the Sith, or finding Sith holocrons and Sith ancient teachings for any of this to really come back to the galaxy far, far away. But the Sith are going to exist where the Jedi do, because it's the ultimate good and the ultimate evil, and it just is absolutely perfect. I mean, it's what Star Wars is. What do you guys, though, think of the rule of two? Do you think that the rule of two should stick around? Do you think it should change and there should be more Sith like in the Old Republic? What do you think the Sith Order should turn into? Put that down in the comments, guys. Let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day. And as always, may the Force serve you well.